people. How are you? It has been a while since the last conversation. How are you doing? I'm here again to push on more content to make you be smart farmers like me. So again, it's your boy Kalibu Chieng, Growthponics Limited CEO. Today we want to talk about something very important in crop farming, and today our topic will focus on crop nutrition. So what is this crop nutrition? Crop nutrition involves uh, equipping crops with the essential elements or essential nutrients that it requires for metabolism. Metabolism simply is changing food into energy. Now, when we look at crop nutrition, what on a layman language someone will understand is that plants feed on nutrients, and these nutrients, it consists of elements, and for a crop to feed completely, the way in animals we say a balanced diet, crop involves in 17 elements that is required for it to be completely on a diet. Now, these elements, some of them are macro elements and some of them are micro elements. So macro elements are the ones which are required in large numbers. Macro means more. And or while micro elements are the ones which are required in less numbers, or they are not required in high quantity, they are required in less quantity. So that's why we call them micro elements. All in all the elements are very important in crop nutrition, both macro and micro. Some of you might thought that being that there are micro elements, since that they are required in less quantity, some of you might thought that maybe they should not exist because they are only required in less quantity. That will be wrong. They should always be involved in each and every time we make sure that we top dress our media or soil. So we should make sure that all the 17 elements are available. I can give you one example. Can you eat food without salt? No, you cannot. But do we need salt in large quantity? We don't need it in large quantity. We just need it in small quantity just to make the flavor look wow. The same with plants. It needs both macro elements, which are required in large quantity, and micro elements, which is required in low quantity. Now, today I want to talk about some of the importance of some of major elements in plants, and that includes macro elements in plants. And I'll start with macro elements. In our study, we found that we have about 9 macro elements, and we have about 8 micro elements. So I will start with the 9 macro elements, and then we finish with micro elements. So there are functions in simple terms. I'll not go into details because I don't want you to hang. I want you to stay with me here. I want you to get informed. I don't want you to get tired. I don't want you to feel like, no, it's so complicated. I want you to feel it that it is so simple. So one of the most important macro element is nitrogen. And this is one of the famous element in crop nutrition or in soil or any other form of farming. So nitrogen is very important. When we talk of nitrogen, what comes in my mind as an animal is proteins, because nitrogen is what generates the proteins. Nitrogen is what helps in photosynthesis. Nitrogen is also used for the growth, the deep green color pigment, and Without nitrogen, the crop will not do well. That's why nitrogen is one of very important element. It also helps with photosynthesis. Photosynthesis involves the process at which plants makes its own food. So without nitrogen, the plant will not make its own food, and that's why nitrogen is a very, very important element in crop nutrition. The other important element is phosphorus. Phosphorus, when you hear about it, what comes in your mind should be rooting system. It is used mostly for the proper formation of the roots. So during planting, when you're planting, always make sure that your fertilizer or whatever you have added as manure, they are rich in phosphorus, so that your plants will gain vigorous roots that will help it feed the plant. Without roots, remember, you cannot feed. It's like you being without hands. How will you pick the food? So you need the roots. The plants need the roots for it to uptake the nutrients. So the more the roots, the healthier the plants, and that's why phosphorus is very, very important. Phosphorus also helps in maturity rate. For your crops to mature very fast, you need enough phosphorus. If you don't have enough phosphorus, your crops will take almost forever to mature, and that will not be healthy or will not be good for the farmer. A farmer needs a crop that takes stipulated time for it to get maturity, and you go to harvesting. The other important thing about phosphorus is it makes plants to be hardy and resistant. That is to the pests, the diseases. When you have enough phosphorus, your crops will be that healthy. But if you don't have enough phosphorus, your crops will be that which, when it's beaten with the pests, and it gets the virus immediately, and with that you get a lot of complicity as a farmer. So if you don't want to have a lot of complicity, make sure in your formulation you have enough phosphorus, and your crops will be hardy, will be resistant. Even if it is beaten by the pest, you control it, and it will not suffer more from viral infections, and also it will resist some of the diseases that will attack you as the farmer. The other important thing is potassium, and you know that potassium regulates plants' metabolism. Metabolism is changing of food into energy that is used by the plant. So with potassium, it regulates it so that it happens in a required way by the plant. So without potassium, you see, you will not have a regulated, and in most cases you will get that the plants will look abnormal. You will see abnormal natures, and that's why you need potassium. You really need potassium. Make sure that your plant metabolism is regulated, and with that your plant is in a quiet, good feeding nature. And it also stimulates the growth of the plant, the strength for your plants to be strong, hardness. You need a lot of potassium, and that's why you should just have it enough. There is one thing I want farmers to know, is that there is something which we call deficiency and toxicity. When you give it too much of something, it becomes toxic, and for that your crop will suffer toxicity. Too much of something. When you give it too less of something, it will be deficiency, because it will not be enough. So you just give it enough in required recommendation given to you by your agronomist. The other important macro element is magnesium. Magnesium is very good during fruit formation, and for it helps in transportation of sugar within the plant. and without magnesium you will not have better transportation, better distribution of sugar, and that one also will not be good for your plant, because magnesium, when it transports the sugar, it also helps to activate some enzymes within the plant. You know, even though the plant needs different types of elements, these elements needs each other to activate each other. So if we lack some, you'll get that you have some elements in your plant which is not working because it needs another elements to activate it. So magnesium is one of the elements that helps to activate other enzymes within the plant as it transports sugar or distributes sugar throughout the plant. Another very important thing is calcium, and we always say that calcium is a backbone element within a plant, because calcium it balances the elements within the plant, so that it makes sure that elements are available in required measures within the plant. Because we also talked of toxicity. When some element is so more than the other, it is not balanced and the plants will not take them well, will not absorb them well, because we need uniform absorption of all these elements. And what does this work is calcium. Calcium will balance the uptake of elements within the plant. That one will be very good for the plant. The other one is carbon. We also have hydrogen, we also have oxygen, and all living things, they need carbon. Carbon is very important. Even you as a person, you consume carbon, you have to drink water, and that is simply carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. The way you as human, you have to use them, the plant also have to use them, because it is so important for them. Now that the last one I'll talk is about sulfur. Sulfur is also good for the root growth and also good for seed development. For seed development, if you need your seeds, your fruits to have good seeds, you have to use enough sulfur. So if you lack sulfur, maybe your seed development will not be good after you have produced the fruit. And the other thing about sulfur is it is resistant to cold. So if you are in an area that maybe the climate is not that, the weather is not that temperate or warming, you need enough sulfur, because it makes sure that your crop can resist the cold. The cold will not give it stress. It will not be stressed with cold. So that's something which is very important with sulfur in specific. More of importance of macro elements, and I want us now to talk about micro elements. We have said that micro elements are the ones which are needed in less quantity, and they are very, very important. It's just like when you miss to put sugar in tea or salt in food. It is very important. No one will like it, but if you put salt or sugar, it brings the flavor. So the same as micro elements, they are required in small quantity, but very, very important. So the first one I'll talk about is boron, and most of farmers, they have that light idea that boron is needed for flower formation, and during flowering stage you will get farmers applying most of boron. Yes, that is true, because boron is needed in the production or in the germination of pollen tube. So for your flowers to produce enough pollen tube, which is required during fertilization, for your flowers to have well-structured pollen tubes, you need a lot of boron, and that's why boron is very important. So it helps to germinate or growth of pollen tubes which are in your flowers, and that's why when your crops will be flowering, at that flowering stage, make sure you have enough boron. The other one which is very important is copper, because we get that Copper increases sugar content in plant and also intensify in flavor, color, taste of a fruit, color of a fruit, coloration. That is what copper will do for you. It will give you flavor, that taste. It will helps in coloration of the fruit so that it looks good quality, and you get that it increases sugar content in your plant, and that tells you that it is very, very important. The other important micro element is iron. As we know that iron helps a lot in respiration. Respiration is simply transpiration, the process by which plant loses, breathes in and out. You know, the plant breathes in what, gives out what. So what will help in that is iron. Iron helps a lot in respiration. It also helps a lot in production of chlorophyll. And chlorophyll, we know that is the green pigment that is used during food formation or during photosynthesis. So that means that without iron, photosynthesis will not go on well because there is no production of chlorophyll. So iron will help a lot in production of chlorophyll, and it will also help out in respiration. The other important thing is chloride, whereby chloride help with management of water. Chloride help with management of water in plant. So it is the ones which will help to closing and opening of the stomata. That is the work of chlorine. So if plant has excess water, it will make sure that a lot transpires, and if the plant has less water, it will make sure that it triggers the plants to consume more water. So it regulates water that is within the plants. That is the work of chlorine. The other important micro element is manganese, that helps in breaking down some elements. We get that some elements need some elements to activate them, and manganese being one of them, it helps in breaking down some elements. For a good example is nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium. You see, those are some of the major elements that are used by plant. So if you have manganese, it will help you to break down those elements so that it can be available for the plant to consume it. So without breaking down them, you will get that the plant will not consume it, and that's why we need manganese, so that the nitrogen, the so-called phosphorus, the so-called calcium can be broken down so that it can be absorbed by the plant. The other important microelement is molybdenum, and molybdenum is important because it converts nitrates into ammonia. It converts nitrates into ammonia. So plant cannot consume nitrogen in form of nitrates, and that's why an element might be there, but when there is no other elements to help it or to activate it, it will not be consumed by the plant. If you give plant nitrates, when there is no molybdenum, you'll get that plants will use less of it. But when we have enough molybdenum, you'll get that nitrates will be converted into ammonia, and from ammonia now the plants will consume it, and with that your plants will grow well. The other important thing is zinc. Zinc helps to synthesize proteins. It helps to synthesize proteins, and this will help in production of chlorophyll. So when chlorophyll is produced, photosynthesis will take place in in required order, because we will now have enough chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, remember, is the green coloring matter in plant which is used during photosynthesis. And lastly, I'll talk about nickel. It's not known because it was the last element to make it to 16 elements required by the plant. And the nickel is used for nitrogen metabolism, breaking down of nitrogen so that it can be absorbed by the plant. So I hope that you have enjoyed our lesson today, and you have known what is important for our plants, and you have known all the elements that is required by our plants. And as a farmer, before you do or you take any action in planting, maybe if you are using soil, make sure that you do a soil test, make sure that all the required elements are available to your farm. If not, make sure you top dress your farm with organic or with inorganic fertilizers. Make sure that all the elements are balanced in required amount. And if you are using hydroponics, make sure that your nutrients you are using has all the required elements, and with that you will grow your plants without any problem. Because most of the farmers always suffers because of nutrition. You'll get that there is no some elements involved, and when there is no some elements, you have found that some elements are used to break down other elements so that they can be consumed. So when some elements lacks, you get that you will have a problem with the crops, and with that you will always be a miserable farmer. You will not enjoy what you are doing. So with that, crop nutrition is very important. Take it at large and make sure you have all the 17 elements feeded to your plants, and with that you will enjoy. Have enough time. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for us to grow. Recommend it to other people so that people also could gain knowledge like you. And with that, all will be well as farmers. Have a nice time.